I'm Alan Weiss, and this is The Writing on the Wall. Welcome back to Writing on the Wall. This month's episode is Life Lessons. What connections can we make that teach us things? So, for example, I just came back from Nantucket. As we film this, I go there every August. And when you walk outside our house and into the ocean a few times a week, you're likely to see a seal out there. And if the seal is curious about you, about 30 yards away, you begin to smell it. I used to think that this was quite cute until a few years ago when I realized that if there's a seal, there's a good probability there's also a great white hunting that seal. The great whites are up there in huge numbers to eat these fat seals, and so I get out of the water. I see a seal, I assume it could be a shark. If you're in a buyer's office and the buyer asks you rapidly for a proposal, it's not because of your charm or your convincing argument, it's because the buyer wants you out of his or her office. Learn that connection, stay there. Don't just go home and pat yourself on the back. If on the highway, someone cuts you off or stops short or does something unattractive and you make a gesture, you can expect some kind of retribution. You won't always get it, but you could. A few years ago, it led to a road rage incident where a guy pulled a crossbow out of his trunk and shot a guy dead and went to jail for the rest of his life. And so I've been guilty of this as well. I act on my emotions right away, but make the life lesson connection. If you do nothing and make no gesture, you're on your way. Anger that is aggressively and constantly expressed toward others is really self-anger. It means you're furious with yourself. I find that when I get bizarre food descriptions, it's usually a cover-up for mediocre food. We're going to drizzle the noix paste on the surfeit faux pas potatoes, which we call fingerling suggestions. I'm not coming back. Complaints about consistent poor treatment from you usually means it's you. If your buyers don't return your calls on a consistent basis across different buyers, if they ask for deals all the time, if people do things consistently that make you unhappy, you are the commonality and you're giving off those vibes. And the life lesson is learn what you're doing and stop it. Don't try to change the world. If you think that the other lane is always faster, the lane at the toll booth, the lane to merge, the lane in the supermarket where you're checking out, you think you're always in the slow lane, you always make the wrong choice, then you're worried about a lot of choices you make in life. Get over it and show a little patience. I find that people who are the most self-absorbed are usually either an only child or the eldest child. Just my observation, but think about it. If you're one of those, maybe you should look at your behavior. I've also found that people who cheat in school cheat in life. I remember when my daughter was in high school here, and one of her friends who she knew from grammar school kept cheating. She kept asking for help, she kept trying to see papers, and sure enough, when they got out of school, she was arrested for some kind of thievery. Cheating is a behavior that's consistent. You have to help people break the habit. You don't enable them in doing it. Animals and people follow certain cues. That's a life lesson. And so, if you got a puppy, and we've had puppies, and the dog defecates on the rug, and you get angry and throw it out of the window. You're on the first floor, you throw it out the window into the lawn. But the dog defecates again and you do it again. After 2 or 3 times, the dog will defecate and then jump out the window. It's learned the behavior. What are your prospects learning? What are your clients learning? What are your friends learning? Procrastination is about fear. It's the fear that if we do something, it'll be critiqued to the point that we can't accept it for our ego. So we'd rather be critiqued for not doing it at all. So we'd rather be seen as a snail or a slug than somebody who does something that's not perfect for everyone else. Get over your fears. A life lesson is stay away from people who invite you over to the bar for a drink and then walk away. There used to be a guy in my community, people would be drinking, he'd invite this person, that person, and when the bill came, he was long gone. People not returning calls are simply exercising pseudo-power. Now, some of you don't get calls back from buyers because they've asked for a quick proposal, gotten you out of the office, they never want to speak to you again. But you won't get calls back from, for example, human resource people who have no power. So they exert this superpower. I'm not calling them back. And then they'll say, doesn't he, doesn't she get the hint? No, I'm not used to dealing with oafs. Anybody today embarking on a multi-year strategy is plainly crazy. They're delusional. They've lived in some other world, some bizarro world for the last 2 years. And so the life lesson is, if you hear people talking about multi-year strategies, you have an opportunity to work with them and convince them of the error of their ways. If they're adamant about it, then you leave. So I can picture these great white sharks meeting up. And one says to the other, hey, it's a good day, what'd you have for breakfast? And the other said, I had seal stuffed with scallops. So if you encounter a great white, you might want to ask what it had for breakfast. If it had a good breakfast, you can probably get out of there safely. Life lesson.